And what is up, everyone? I'm Joe DeHoyos. I am the host of Beyond the Woodline, and I have with me today Crystal and Brett. How you guys doing today?
Very good. Thank you.
Good,
Excellent.
Nice to be
good,
here.
man. Yeah, man. I thank you guys a lot for doing the show. I really do appreciate it. And you guys seem like some really good people, and we were already laughing right before we came on the air, so that's a good thing.
Well, I figure we're going to be talking about the stuff that we like to talk about, so
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
it's a way to spend some time.
yeah. So I don't know who wants to go first, but how did you get involved in all of this, and when did your psychic abilities take place?
I'll start because I was the one that had it happening first. When I was a little kid, we always had ghosts around, and I had spirits coming to me looking for help and stuff like that. And this was all when I was really young. And I think that my first psychic or my first mediumship experience that I know happened when I was about 8 years old. And so I've been into this stuff forever. My family was accepting of it. So it made it so that I could pursue it. And so I've been kind of looking for it all my life and involved with it all my life. And then comes Crystal.
Mhm.
And well, I actually grew up atheistic and skeptical of everything. Unlike him, like my family didn't believe in any of this. I didn't have any experiences when I was young, so I didn't really believe in any of it until I was maybe like in my early 20s. And I came to it through doing a lot of past life regressions. And then once you sort of accept that that's real, like your soul exists more than one body, all of a sudden, wow, ghosts and like all this other stuff makes total sense, right? You can't like believe in one and not in the other. So then I opened my mind. But then when I met him, like that was a whole other level. Yeah, he was called like Ghost Magnet by his friends when he was younger, because it was like whenever he was around, something was going to happen. So when I got together with him, stuff just, yeah, started happening all the time.
Yeah, you become a believer pretty quickly
Yeah.
when it's happening
Yeah,
all over the place.
right. So a little bit about me, so you guys will know. I'm actually Bigfoot is what I do. That's in my wheelhouse. But I've always been interested in the paranormal. I've always been interested in UFOs and alien stuff. And it wasn't until maybe I guess a little over 2 years now that I started really, really getting into the UFO stuff and really getting into
Okay.
the paranormal stuff. And of course, that led to a lot of the psychic stuff, the remote viewing stuff,
Mhm.
um, uh, past life regressions. I've looked into
Mhm.
so much of that stuff,
Mhm.
and I've actually found out a lot about myself. If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so I'm a completely different person now than I was 2 years ago. You know,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of people see that, and I think it's all for the better because I've opened myself up to so much more
Mhm.
rather than put myself into a box.
Yeah.
And it's not that I didn't believe in that stuff. I just didn't
Mhm.
explore it. And now that I've explored it, and I'm constantly on YouTube or any other channels that have any kind
Mhm.
of paranormal psychic stuff on there, psychic mediums, and I'm trying to learn and I'm trying to teach myself this stuff now. I'm 50 years old, but I'm still trying to make myself a better person. I think and open my mind and some stuff. Um, I've been able to pick up on. It kind of comes and goes, and it's not very strong. So
Mhm.
I'm not Professor X over here, but it's funny how if you really concentrate, and what I started doing, like I said 2 years ago, is meditating, and that really really helped me out. And uh, I, I'm not gonna say it's easy, but I think once you learn that, at least for me, once I started learning how to actually meditate, it made it so much easier for me.
Mhm.
But
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting out of the way, right? I
yeah,
mean, because Brett and I have this message that we are trying to get out to everybody. Like, everybody is psychic. Not everybody's psychic ability is going to look exactly the same, but everybody is psychic. But you have to work for that, right? You have to study that or train that muscle or something. And so, yeah, the meditation, what that does is it gets your brain out of the way, so you can see and hear and feel that stuff that was already there, the whole time, right?
Right,
But
yeah.
we're just in our way with our chatter and our ego and all that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, and you
for
know what?
sure.
I think you said it right. It's like a muscle that you gotta exercise, right?
Mhm.
And um, you got to get out of your own way for that. I
Yeah.
think too. People already asking questions in the chat.
We have somebody backing up nearby. I don't know if you can hear beeping.
Yeah, I hear some people, but it's
So
fine.
Sorry.
it's the
I can't really
bat
pick it up.
phone.
So, there you go.
Yeah, it'd be fine. We can answer psychic questions a little bit.
Yeah,
We can try
yeah.
it out and see how it goes. Sometimes it's, to me, with how I see it, is it's all up to the other side. It's what
Right.
the other side is giving me.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just a
one
matter
thing I
of
wanted to
being
ask both
open
you
to it.
guys. Is that something that comes to you, or is it something that you're able to turn on and off?
I do it wrong. I'm always on. I think it's just because since I was little, I've kind of had this, and so it's if I'm not using it, or if I turn it off, I feel like I have something wrong. Like there's a sense missing, and so it's mostly on all the time. Now, whether I'm paying attention or not, that's another thing, because I think that's the big thing about being psychic. It's just a matter of noticing these subtle things that are what it is to be psychic, really.
Right.
I don't know if I even answered the
No, yeah,
question.
So-
you did. What
Okay.
about you, Crystal?
And for me, I have to keep it turned off because it's largely animal based. And so,
Explain.
yeah, I will. What I receive often is what are strong emotions and thoughts from animals, which is often them in pain, crying out for help, that sort of thing. And so if I don't have that turned off most of the time, except when I'm practicing, I'm just sort of bombarded. And psychic ability is not local. It's not local. So it's not like when Brett and I share thoughts, which we actually do. That's something that happens all the time. We ask like, we'll both think of the same thing and one will say it. And it's like, wait, how many seconds ago did you think that? Because I thought that 10 seconds ago. And then he says it out loud, like that kind of thing. But it's not local. There's something different. You're going to a non-local place to get it. So I do my animal work. I don't have to be with the animal. I just have a photograph and whatever. So my point of saying that is that I'm getting, if I don't have it turned off when I'm not using it, I'm just getting bombarded with strong emotional pleas from animals I don't even know where they are. I couldn't help them if I wanted to, because I don't even know where they are. I'm just getting like the emotion, the imagery, that kind of thing. So I have to have it turned off. So so I guess it could go both ways. But what I can say about him is, occasionally when the house is really, really busy with spirits and he'll do a clearing and he'll be like, everybody out, and then he'll put like a bubble on it or something.
Right.
He can only stay on that for like a little while. He has to take it off and let the spirits come back in, or he feels there's like some part of himself missing.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense too. Yeah. So you go back to you guys shared thoughts. Was that from the very beginning, or is that something that
Pretty
also
much.
developed too?
No, it pretty much. Pretty much from the beginning, right? We realized that, and it used to be a big deal because, oh my God, that's telepathy. Wow, like how is that not? But now it's like it's so common that it's just part of how we communicate. But
So is it hard to keep secrets?
I don't keep secrets anyway.
Well, if you want to
He's a
surprise her with
Sagittarius. He
something,
doesn't know how to keep secrets anyway.
Yeah.
well, what if you wanted to surprise her with something like a night out or something? Could you hide that from her?
No, I don't do nights out either.
Okay, so
No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I actually, I think it's in my being that I just don't do secrets really, at least with Crystal. When it's important, I don't. If I was planning a night out, like I would tell her so early, like way early. It wouldn't even be a surprise. It'd be like, hey, honey, I was going to surprise you with this, but
No
let's
surprise
make this.
parties in my future. That's for sure. That was Brett.
Okay. That's kind of like with me and my family. That's in our nature too. Like
Mhm.
if my birthday is next week and then she goes out and buys a gift tonight, she's giving it to me tonight.
Yeah.
That's just the way she is. She's like,
Yeah.
here,
Right on.
yeah,
Yeah.
here's your present. I'm like, well, my birthday's not till Monday. It doesn't matter. Here, take it, open it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's just the way we are too. That's just our nature. Yeah.
That's cool.
Well,
So, you know what? You were mentioning with you, like you're mainly into Bigfoot,
Mhm.
but you've kind of stretched out into these other things.
Yeah, that's where I got the name Beyond the Woodline.
You know,
Beyond.
I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like it's all very similar. It's all different things that are mostly dimensional, and things will pop into physical reality and all that stuff. But I think like you being open to all of that stuff is going to make you probably a better Bigfoot hunter, or I don't know what the right word would be, because people are like,
Yeah.
ghost hunter. No, I'm a
Yeah.
paranormal investigator.
Yeah,
So-
and people even have a problem with that. What's an investigator? What's a researcher?
Right.
What?
Yeah.
It's just a label for crying out loud. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
It's
there
this
are-
field can be so ridiculous and petty. Actually, the people in it, it's like, you know what? We're like on the fringe of society. Let's like be together and like hold
Yeah.
each other up. Not this like stupid bickering that people do.
Yeah.
I can't
And
stand it. Yeah.
it's always over the craziest little things. Like,
Yes.
Oh, for
Yes.
sure.
It's like everybody wants to wear the tiara.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, there's plenty of places for us to go.
Mhm.
Oh, for
That's
sure.
right.
Yeah, so Crystal was telling me that you kind of get on your bike and ride around and check out places on your own, and you have your own YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's called Haunted Medium, and I want everybody to go out and subscribe, because it's so difficult to feel self-worth while doing this kind of thing. That's like a quantifier right there. But yeah, I used to be a teacher, and I would get the summers off, and Crystal let me go out and ride my motorcycle, and I would go out and I'd be out for 2 weeks or a month or a little bit over a month. And like I rode up to the Arctic Circle basically on a dirt bike, and this is from Los Angeles, so it's no small feat.
No.
But a lot of people, like, you can do it. Anybody can do this. It's just, whether you want to,
And you have the time.
whether you're into that. But I was doing that every summer, and then finally I was just kind of like, you know what, I should start doing video while I'm doing it. And I started doing the video stuff, and I would just go places, paranormal spots or regular spots, because everywhere has something interesting going on. And I would talk to the spirits there, or try to find out about UFOs, or whatever the thing was in these different areas. And so I've been doing that for a few years now. And I go out and I produce these weekly shows based on where I've been. So it's just walking around with me, and I get EVPs, like tons of EVPs. And I think they're probably some of the best that I've ever heard. And I mean, I think that something with my psychic abilities allows the spirits to communicate better, and so they come out on audio. And so it's just crazy, but I love doing that. And the coolest spot I got to go to last year was Skinwalker Ranch. I got to camp. I camped in the property right next door, overlooking, well, I wasn't allowed to camp on the ridge, but it's the ridge that overlooks Skinwalker Ranch. And so that was just an insane night. So
Right. Yeah, I've seen people go up on that ridge.
yeah.
So when you like encounter spirits, are they all earthly beings?
No. It's funny because you start out and you're like, okay, this is this is a spirit of a human being, or this is a ghost from a human being. And then as you start developing and opening up, you're drawing the attention of other folks over there on the other side. And so we'll have ETs, and we'll have fairies. Like it's just a trip. It has kind of turned into like in Star Wars. Every time you see a new alien come on the screen, you're like, oh, cool. How does this one affect the story? I mean, there's no judgment or anything. And I'm to the point where it's like, wow, I don't know what this thing is, but this thing has entered the chat,
Okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah. And it's interesting that you mentioned the ETs, and I don't want to step on your toes here, but so a friend of mine, he had a near-death experience. He actually died 2 different times in his life.
Wow.
But now he has the ability to hear voices from the other side, but not just from the other side. He tells me, I was the only one he had ever told. He told me this in the last 4 or 5 months. We were talking about it because he's a coworker of mine, and he has never told anyone about this, not even about hearing the voices, right? And but he knew I was into all this, so he started talking to me about it. And then much later, he finally told me, he goes, "Hey, not only do I hear voices like people that have passed on," he goes, "but I hear voices from like other dimensions." He goes, and I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "They tell me, hey, look, come here, we have this going on over here, or we have, or check this out." And he says he hears it all the time,
Yeah, it's really cool that you can be that person for him, right? He's had to hold on to that information for however long. I don't know. He can't tell anybody, but you're the guy he can tell. I mean, I just think that's really cool from
And another thing about it is the believability is pretty high there, right?
Right.
This guy keeps this a secret, and he's only going to tell you because you're the only one he can trust with it. You aren't going to go on the air and say that. No, I'm just kidding. But you're the only one that he can trust with it, and so he's willing to tell you, but he's not going to tell anybody else. That's not somebody looking for attention or anything like that. And when you're having this crazy stuff happen to you, hearing voices or seeing things or whatever, we aren't quick to jump to, wow, that's that's a ghost, or that's an ET, or a fairy, or some sort of elemental or something. We aren't quick to jump to that if we're normal people, because normally we're trying to come up with a solution for it. We're like, okay, like, how do I know this isn't a hallucination or whatever? And so I trust that your friend really is having these experiences and is able to now differentiate between human spirits and other things out there. So that's really cool.
And so what do you think about people who aren't, I know you say we're all psychic, right? What do y'all think about people who aren't necessarily psychic, but they hear a voice, even if it's one time in their life? An example I want to give you guys is like in April, my mom had a birthday, and we had a bunch of family, like close immediate family. They're celebrating, and my brother, that was on a Sunday. My brother called me on the Monday and he's like, "Hey, Maddie," which is my niece. He goes, "Maddie came up to me during the party. It's like, hey, I keep hearing Grandpa's voice. My dad, he passed away 10 years ago." She goes, "I keep hearing Grandpa's voice, and he's telling me that he's happy that Grandma's having a party, that she deserves a party, right?" And I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." So then Tuesday, they were all going to my dad's grave, but they got canceled. My uncle said, "Hey, look, it's raining. Let's not go because it gets really muddy over there." My brother's like, "Okay." He says, "But I got something to tell you." This was on Tuesday. He calls my brother. He tells him that. He's like, "I got something to tell you." He says, "At the party, your aunt was hearing your dad's voice. The same party, right?" And Madison and my aunt didn't even talk. They didn't know the other one heard the other voice. But my aunt heard the same thing, that he was glad my mom's having a party. She deserved it. And that when her time comes, he'd be there waiting for her. You know?
Wow.
Okay. So here's what I have to say about that. I'm not sure why people differentiate between I have psychic experiences versus, okay, fine, I'm psychic. So like Maddie is psychic. Your aunt has a little bit of psychic ability, or her aunt, or whoever the other woman was, the aunt in the story, right? Obviously has some psychic ability that was a little bit open, and both of them got a taste of what that could be like. They could both just decide to open up more, and they'd get more of that. I mean, that's just what this whole process is. So it's not that they're not psychic, but they had a psychic experience. It's that they are psychic and they just had their first psychic experience.
I feel like they just need to pay more attention.
Mhm.
I mean, really, that's what it is. You know, when a loved one comes to you and is trying to get your attention, they're going to be a little bit more forceful with it, probably, and they know how to get you to listen or pay attention.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
you know what's funny? Maybe at a certain time in my life, like I said, I wasn't open to it, but my dad was around, and I knew he was around.
yeah.
There was a time I used to live outside of San Antonio a few years back, and I was yelling down. I was upstairs. I was yelling down at my daughter, put some clothes in the dryer, and the light switch that was right next to me just flicked on, just click, and it
Okay.
flicked on, and the light came on, and I just knew it was my dad. You know, I just
Yeah.
knew it was my dad. Then I was there for a couple of years. I moved back here to Houston, and I was at my mom's. I was talking to my mom. I said, you know what, Dad's always around me. I just know when he's around. You know,
Mhm.
and maybe that's opening up psychically. I don't know.
Mhm.
I just know when he's around. I can't really explain it. So I was telling her that story. I said, yeah, and the light switch just came on, right? And right at that same moment, the light switch in the kitchen flicked on. Just click. You know,
Awesome.
okay.
Great. You know, we actually have a friend who is a phenomenal psychic. She is, but her stuff didn't come on until her mother died.
Hmm.
So you're saying maybe your experiences are around your father dying and then him connecting with you.
Right.
She almost turned on like a light switch. When her mom died, she went through the grief of her mother dying, and then bam, she was just like super crazy psychic. So maybe that was a little trigger for you too,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, to like open up a little, your first little bit or whatever. Yeah.
right. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And yeah, that actually clicked in my mind right now when you said that.
Mhm.
That made total sense right now.
Yeah.
And you know that was kind of what got me to opening myself up a little bit too.
Mhm.
It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Hey Michelle, thanks for joining. Thanks for listening on the show. I appreciate that. She's a great person. I don't know if you guys know her or not. She's awesome. And
Okay.
No, you know,
her
I just know.
her nickname is actually the Ghost Magnet. It's
Ah,
funny.
Oh,
hey,
okay.
It's
high,
funny. It's
high
so
five.
weird that she joined the show at this time. It's just so
Yeah.
funny. Yeah,
Great.
that's her nickname, the Ghost Magnet. When you told me that, I thought of her, and sure she is.
Cool.
But yeah, she's a really cool person.
And we know Aaron Brown over there.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny because I didn't have the comments open, so I'm just now seeing everybody over there. Hi, everybody.
And you know, I want to talk a little bit more to Crystal, but I don't want us to forget about the ETs and the fairies. I got questions for you about that, Brett. But
Okay.
yeah, Crystal. We're talking about EVPs. Have you ever tried getting EVPs from pets?
I've never, I'm trying to think. No, because I don't usually record my sessions. When I do it, I type out what I'm getting so that I don't lose anything. I mean, I type it as an actual like transcript. Like I asked the dog this, and then the dog said this in return. Now, when I say said, let me explain that a little bit. Okay, like what do I get from animals, right? That counts as communication. So, just like Brett and I have thought sharing, animals use telepathy all the time with each other. That's their main mode of communication. It's not just wagging their tails and roaring at each other and like, okay, so those are ways they communicate, just like we have our verbal communication, but our like body language, nonverbal communication is the majority of human communication too, right? Okay, so animals mostly use telepathy, and they don't obviously use human words or German words or Spanish words or any of that kind of stuff. They use images connected to feelings. And so they're sending that back and forth to each other all the time. So if one wants to develop their psychic ability in my opinion, and Brett might have a different opinion, the two easiest modalities to do that with are remote viewing. I've never seen anybody who couldn't do remote viewing from the very first session, or animal communication. And the reason animal communication is easy is because animals are already talking to each other telepathically all the time anyway. All you have to do is clear off this filter that doesn't let you hear what they're trying to say to you all the time. Your animals are trying to send you messages all the time. You just don't hear them. Okay, so it's easy to just clear that and then start to get stuff. So then what you have to do is you'll get images and feelings connected to images and all that kind of stuff. And then, your brain, and you work to sort of translate that to what does that mean? And that's how you communicate with an animal. And so my example of why telepathy is actually a better mode of communication than verbal is like picture a red barn. So like I just said that, and you and everybody listening and Brett all pictured a red barn, but we're all picturing different red barns. But if I could literally take my image of a red barn and put it in your mind, Joe, and Brett's and everybody else's, then we would be thinking the exact same thing. So telepathy is actually more precise than words. Okay, so that's how animals communicate. So but I do, to answer your question about the EVPs, I haven't gotten any EVPs, but I also haven't like recorded my sessions and tried. So I don't know.
Right. And man, I love that explanation too. Because I love both of you guys' explanations. Really, they're so simple and to the point. It's like, why didn't I freaking think of that, right? Because when you think about it, animals can already pick up on their owners. Okay, he's sad, he's sick, whatever. They know that, right? So there's got to be that open at least one way. So that communication, that line of communication being open, it should make it easier. I would think, right? So that makes a lot of sense.
And what can you tell your first story of you trying animal communication? Because that's phenomenal.
Well, like I said, I grew up not believing in any of this kind of stuff, but I always grew up an animal lover. So in my early 20s, I saw that there was this like 3-hour class in animal communication, and I signed up, and I didn't actually believe that it was going to work. I mean, I just thought there were going to be animals there. So I went, and I didn't have anything else to do. And so we did the exercises, and she taught us how to do it and everything. And at the time I had a pit bull. This was before I got together with Brett. And I came home, and my pit bull's name was Damien. And so I sat there with him, and in my head, I was just saying, turn around 3 times and then come over here and lay down. But I didn't say anything out loud, right? I kept saying that, turn around 3 times. And I did it a few times, and nothing happened. And I thought, oh man, this is just bunk, right? Like, I mean, I didn't learn anything. Maybe this isn't even real. Like, God, I'm such a fool. And then he turned around 3 times and came over and laid down. And I was like, amazing to me. And later when we talked more, I asked him, like, why didn't you just do it right away? Like, obviously you were hearing me. Like, why didn't you just do it the first time I asked you to? And he said, this is how complex their thinking really is. They're as complex as humans. He said, I was deciding whether to let you know that I could hear you, because I knew once I did that once, things were going to change like forever, right? Because now we had this connection, and he decided he wanted that. And then we did with that pit. I mean, he's been gone like 16 years now, but with him, I hardly ever said anything out loud. Like, it was all just telepathic with him. It was like a constant conversation, like between humans. Later, we got 3 Chihuahuas, and I never had that same level of communication with them. Maybe because there was 3, maybe because they're Chihuahuas and they're all over the place or whatever. Right. I don't know. But so it was less with them. But with him, it was just freaking amazing. Like, he and I were talking constantly. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that, man. I wish I had that connection with my dog. He passed away 4 years ago. Best dog.
It's so hard. Yeah, really hard to lose a dog. Yeah.
Real quick, I know somebody had a question. Anne had a question, and Anne, if you want to type it in, you're welcome to type it in, and we'll see what can happen, or they can answer it, and So feel free to do that. And um, yeah, so the fairies, that's what I'm really interested in because I've really, oh, well, there she goes.
All right.
I would like to ask if you see romance for me this year and if it will be a person I know. We are not communicating now.
So that'd be you.
Great,
Okay.
great question. I have that question.
All right. You know what? Give me a few minutes to tune in to you. And Crystal, I don't know
Yeah,
if there are
Joe,
any
if you want
questions.
to talk to me a little bit and let him like
Okay.
sort of formulate an answer for Anne.
I actually had a question for you. I know, so do animals themselves have souls and spirits, I
Oh,
guess?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So what about plant life, like trees and plants? One of the big studies is that they respond to music, right?
Mhm.
So to me, I mean, what do you guys think about that? Well, we'll let Brett do his thing, but
Yeah,
you know,
I'm ready to go.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
ready to go.
I'll get back to that question. He can answer.
Okay, yeah. So the first thing that came to me was the You've Got Mail. The movie with Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks. I think, right? That's yeah. So that that's what I'm being shown, and I don't know if that is about that you're going to find the person online and that's the place to look, or if it has to do with the movie and the situation there, and just like a very fun, happy, um, playful kind of relationship. Um, yeah, you're going to be an enemy at first. That's not it actually, but I mean that's what the movie premise is. I don't think that's it, but I do see like that's the one thing that just popped in really quickly. So I would consider looking online and seeing if you can find someone that way, and because it's the AOL kind of thing, like this almost old fashioned. I mean, it is old fashioned now. I would probably go more for a um, playful, friendly, lighthearted kind of thing than probably just doing some sort of a hookup kind of app or something like that. Um, but like that just jumped out. That was the first thing that popped out. And it's funny because sometimes I will get well, actually often I think I've got guides that will give me pop reference kind of um, um, input. And so, it's kind of fun. I'll hear things, I'll see movies, I'll see these kind of things, and that's most likely where it comes from. Um, I'm trying to ask like how soon this could be. And I get 7 or 8, and I'm not sure if that is 7 or 8 weeks or 7, 8 months, or in 7 or 8
hours.
hours.
Optimistic.
Maybe
What
7, 8
time?
minutes.
What?
Check your
Yeah. What
messages,
time
man.
is it there? Okay. So, okay. Um, hey, so seeing that comment, um, yeah, maybe see what that guy is like, see how he feels to you, because that's an interesting little bit there.
Right, yeah.
So
And what's even funnier is last week I actually saw that movie.
Oh.
what
Yeah.
that's
really
like
cute.
it's trending right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's pretty good. And I love that
That's
movie too,
cool.
by the way.
Yeah, me too. Fantastic
It's
stuff.
really cute. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, but you were asking about trees and plants,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm
Do you
gonna
guys have an
stop
opinion
taking
on
the
that?
camera. I know that there are lots of people actually who speak to trees.
Right.
My animal communication stuff hasn't translated to talking to plants, but there are people that I trust with their abilities that do actually talk to plants. So, yeah.
I've talked to trees, or had a tree talk to me or something, just once in the sequoias.
Okay.
It's like you have to get really open or really tuned into that level, and um, it's like they have to let you in. And that's my how I feel about it. I feel like it's very special.
Yeah.
And
And
Brett,
that
do
this
you
is
feel like they're individuals or is that more of a collective?
this felt like an
Mm.
individual. I know that some trees are a collective. Like there'll be like what we see is one tree sticking out of the ground, but it's all of their roots are connected, over a whole mountain or something like that. I don't know what kind, but yeah. And yeah, this was in the sequoias, and I was spending some time filming there and just kind of hanging out in the trees. And I ended up having, you know, something I thought was a fairy coming up, and somebody said dryad, and I don't even know what a dryad is, right? Um, the as close as I would get would be like from Dungeons and Dragons as a kid or something. But it's like, so I talked to this little being, and they showed me around and tried to show me stuff, and I don't know, it's just a trip. I know I just went off on a tangent.
No, no, you're good, man. And like I said, I've gotten so deep into all this stuff. I just really like immerse myself into everything, and fairies is one of them. And so
That's
when you brought
great.
up fairies, I was like, I'm glad you brought up fairies because um, I'm like bound and determined to see one. That's like if I saw a fairy before a Bigfoot, I'd be happy.
I want to see a Bigfoot.
Yeah,
I feel like they've been around, but haven't shown themselves to me, or I haven't been open in the right way to see them or something.
right.
Um, and fairies, um, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, fairies, that can't possibly be real, right? And then there's a fairy right there, and it's like, okay, something else to add to my, oh, these things are real, okay. Same thing with angels and demons. It's like they aren't real until you see them,
Right. Yeah.
until they're right there. And so yeah, with fairies, I think let's see. I think the coolest thing that happened was I was like, well, how do you see the world? And I was walking home from the beach and walking past somebody's garden, and I was asking the fairies in my head. I'm not walking around talking out loud usually. But how do you see the world? And for about 30 seconds after that, the colors and everything were like super vibrant. I mean, everything was like saturated, like 100%. It was crazy. And, it feels lighter and everything. And, that lasted for about 30 seconds or maybe a minute or something like that. And that was that was wild. And then an EVP that I think came from a fairy was them asking, um, like, well, why do you even physically incarnate? Like, what's the purpose? Like, that seems so lame. That was the kind of idea there.
Mhm.
And then one other fairy related thing was I got an EVP. This was also kind of in the sequoias in another time somewhere else. Um, but they were saying like a leprechaun. Now I've seen everything. And so it's
Really.
just like I had no idea anything like that was going on at the time, but it's just those kind of things are like paradigm shifters,
Right.
like like okay, so that's another thing that's real, I guess.
Something I don't tell people who watch the show probably know I've talked about it, but I don't tell a lot of people about it, and I don't know if I'll ever come out and tell the whole full story. But I've had my
Uh-huh.
run-ins with ETs, uh, and we can talk about that off there. Like I said, I don't. It's crazy. It sounds crazy. Of course, you're here talking about
I
fairies, right? I'll look for
I
Well,
Bigfoot, and
Heyo.
yeah,
literally nothing you can
um
say that's going to seem crazy to
with
us.
the ET stuff, we've had encounters with ETs. We've had little time periods when when we had them coming to the house and basically causing problems for, I don't know, for a long time. And so we understand not wanting to get into it. Um, ETs are hard to get rid of. They're hard to move on, or just have friendly ones around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, me personally, I have no issues with them. None at all.
Okay.
that's
I
great.
welcome them every single
Okay.
time.
Okay.
Know,
Very
Fantastic.
good.
you know. But like I said,
Um,
I won't get to it.
as long as they're looking out for you, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, because there are ones that aren't looking out for you, and you want
Yeah.
to make sure you have the good guys around you to keep the other guys from making your life miserable.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there are some stories out there um, that are pretty bad with some of this, some of the species,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
and you always have a side where like they're all bad, and then this side is like they're all good.
hmm
And like I understand, probably you understand, there are some bad ones, there are some good ones, right?
Right.
And
Oh
that's
yeah, for sure.
that's where I stand. I know
Mhm.
that there are some bad ones, there are some good ones. Just like
Yeah.
with us, you know.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Look around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. So like, what kind of advice would you guys give to people who wanted to develop their abilities, psychic abilities?
Okay, so I've been asked this with animal communication a bunch, and
Right.
my very not very flippant answer that people don't seem to like very much, but shut up and listen. That I mean, like for real, that's
That's great.
the absolute basic premise of psychic ability. Because, like we were talking in the beginning, you meditate. What does that do? That gets your mind out of the way. You are shutting up so you can listen to what is already there, right? So that's really what psychic ability is about. So people do that different ways. They train through different protocols, they meditate, they do all of that. But essentially, all it's doing is getting you out of the way, removing your filters. You also have to believe, right? You have to believe that this is at least possible, right? You can't be going, oh yeah, this is stupid. No, I can't,
Right.
whatever. Okay, like you're not going to develop your abilities that way. You have to say, well, maybe at least this is possible. Let me try. Be open-minded to it. Okay, so that's super important. And then you have to find whatever way works for you. Now, some people like the structure of a protocol, which is what remote viewing is, right? Like Russell Targ, one of the first developers of remote viewing for the Army program, he's even said, remote viewing is sort of just an excuse for people who need an excuse to be psychic, right? Like they can't just accept, well, psychic ability is a thing,
Oh yeah.
but here's this
Permission.
like proven formula, whatever, right? And so then they'll do that. And really all it's doing is tapping into their psychic ability. So remote viewing is fantastic. It's one way to do it. Like I said, and we work with a remote viewing group called Applied Precognition Project. We help them run their their workshops and their conferences and stuff, because we believe in what they're doing. And I've never seen even an absolute beginner not be able to do remote viewing. So that's proof that right there, everybody has psychic ability. But other people don't want the strict structure of remote viewing, which is like phases 1 through 6, and now write down this, and draw it this way and all that kind of stuff. Some people just want it to be more open. And so there are other teachers for that. There are videos on YouTube or whatever, or they can literally really like what you're doing, right? You're just meditating and you're following your instinct, right? What you should do next, that kind of stuff. That's another way to develop it. Everybody's different. Everybody likes to learn differently. Some people are hands-on learners. Some people like to sit in a classroom, right? It's going to be even that with psychic ability. It's going to be that different for how people should do it. But there are a lot of great teachers out there. A lot, yeah. If people want a teacher, yeah.
Yeah. Like when I started doing this, I started meditating on my own. I knew about
Mhm.
meditation, even though I didn't really know how to do it. And that's another thing I looked up. There's so many different varieties on YouTube,
Mhm.
And I was just going through a bunch of them, and I finally found someone that I liked, and I stuck with
Good.
that one. But
Yeah.
yeah, at first I'd be laying there because what I do is I like to lay down in my bed. I got a dark room, so that's what I do, right? And it's hard when you first do it because you're laying there and you're trying to think and trying to concentrate, and all I'm thinking about, okay, the light bill is due tomorrow,
Mhm. Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. You
For
gotta
real.
get that out of your mind, and I'm
For real.
really good at it now. I mean,
That's
I'm really
good.
proud of myself where I am now. So
Good. And then the next thing you have to do is there's a big part of this, like you said earlier to yourself, oh, well, it's kind of subtle for you. You're not, Professor X kind of thing. And we all laughed about that because most of us aren't, it is really subtle. So I want everybody to know that. There are times when it really hits you over the head and it's like unmistakable. But a lot of times it feels like you're talking to yourself or you're making something up, and you have to learn. Everybody has to learn within themselves where that line is. How do you figure out what was a message from a spirit guide, an ET, whatever, versus your own mind just making something up right there? And I would say that is actually the hardest part of learning this, is learning to differentiate between your own thoughts and what is psychic thoughts. And for real, once you learn how much is psychic coming to you from other people, from your pets, from people you don't even know walking down the street, these are ideas they're putting in your head. It's not even your own idea. So through telepathy, through mediumship, all this stuff, we're getting ideas all the time. We attribute them to our own random thought process, but you have to learn which ones are actually coming from somewhere else. To me, that's the hardest part, figuring out what's yours and what's from somewhere else. And once you figure that out, man, it's like coming all the time.
Yeah, I think trust is huge. Just trust what impressions are coming to you. Like, going back to the you've got mail. Okay, so I'm trying to connect with somebody, right? Okay, what information am I getting for Anna? Answering her question. And the first thing that popped into my head was, you've got mail. And I start seeing images of it and stuff like that. And by the time I realize what's happening, I'm already past it. I'm already like distracted and into something else. And I have to go, okay, wait a second. I did get information like that. I didn't, like, I'm just not going to have that pop into my head. I've been doing this long enough that I know kind of what to expect when it's my thoughts versus somebody else's thoughts or somebody else putting it in my head. And that's kind of how I operate. I feel like my guides on the other side is giving me information. It's not just me hooking into the the internet for psychic information or whatever. I feel like somebody is like handing it to me and giving it to me. So that's kind of how it works for me. But I think meditation, that's the biggest thing to do because it gets you to kind of be quiet. I saw Bim Jim said, like, find the off switch for your mind. I think that's the goal. But I don't think most of us can just do that. I think especially we've been trained with pop-ups everywhere. We've got, our phone vying for our attention. We've got all of these things going on. So being able to like fully shut stuff off isn't as realistic when you're starting out. Once you get going, yeah, you can flip a switch and you're in an altered state or in a trance or whatever, like so quickly. But for most of us, it's just, let's just try to focus on one thing, like breathing. I'm a big fan of, breathe in, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, exhale, 2, 3, and then start it again and try to pay attention to that. And if you can do it for 15 seconds, you're meditating. And you go a little longer and stuff starts to happen and you start to feel good and you actually can start to open up things for you. And so like that's kind of the door to get into the psychic stuff, or being able to control it and be able to know what's you. like what's normal in your operating system and what is outside of yourself. So that's the big thing. And then paying attention to these really, really subtle cues. These little images. You might see things, you might hear things, you might just know things. You might smell something, you might taste something, or have like emotions or feelings about something. These are all different ways people can get information, and you just pay attention. Like, what is it? Like when you go into a room and it feels odd. It's like, okay, well, why does it feel weird? It's like, okay, well, yeah, the heater is on and it's like really hot in here. Okay, we know that that's a mundane thing, but you can walk into a room and it's like temperature seems fine. It's not stuffy, but I feel a lot of anxiety. And then you find out later, it's like, oh, okay, somebody was having an argument in this room, right before you came in or something. That's, another way to do it. But then you've got to trust what you're getting. So.
And I want to add to that.
Yeah.
What he's talking about, like saying, oh, somebody just had a fight in this room and you can feel it. People will say like, oh, well, that's just intuition, or I'm just an empath, I'm not psychic, or whatever. You know what? These are all on the spectrum of psychic ability. That's just low level psychic ability. You're not getting images or words in your head yet, but you're getting like those preliminary feelings that
it's
are
not,
like in
it's
your
not
body.
Low level.
Whatever.
It's not
okay.
Low
So
level.
I apologize. It's not low level, but that is absolutely also psychic ability. Mother's intuition. There's a thing called what?
Blue sense.
Blue sense, right? Cops develop blue sense where they know what's going to happen before they like go into the room or whatever, and they count on that to save their lives. All of this is psychic ability. Even the not just Project Stargate with the original like Manu Goats kind of stuff, which is actually very fun. We've met like some of those real people that those are based on through Applied Precognition Project. Fun old guys that a lot of information is going to die off with them soon, because they're all like in their 80s and stuff. But even recently, the military, the Navy, I think, spent like millions of dollars. No, probably the Marine Corps, training people to develop their intuition on the battlefield. Literally, that was a thing that the military is still putting money out for, So like this is a real thing. This all falls within the realm of psychic ability. People just have to call it different things in different aspects of life, right? Because for some reason we're all too chicken to just call it psychic ability.
Yeah.
But it is.
Like,
it's
like
all
this is
just
gut,
psychic
right?
ability.
This is
Do
my
it.
gut.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool, guys. So what is your goal with all this? Do you have an end game, so to speak?
Enlightenment.
Okay.
No, I'm just I don't know.
World domination. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those things.
Whatever comes first.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the big goal is. I've got something that I've kind of been tasked with, or that's not actually the right way to say it. I'm working for the other side. I'm doing something for the other side, and it's kind of it is a secret that they have me doing, and so like I am constantly working for the other side for something, and I think that's my ultimate thing, to be successful with what I'm doing for spirits, for entities over there.
Right.
That's my big goal.
Yeah.
If I can help people and work with people and get us all to level up our abilities, that's my dream. I would love for everybody to get this figured out, because it's so amazing. It's really, really scary until you start to get a grip with it, because this seeing a ghost for the first time can knock somebody out, right? I mean, somebody cannot have, they can't continue their normal life once they've seen a ghost and are accepting it, or, even seeing a UFO or a Bigfoot or, whatever, having that kind of experience, you can't just go back to being the same person you were.
It changes their whole outlook, changes their
Mhm.
whole reality.
Yes.
For sure.
What
So
about you, Crystal? What's your other goals?
Well, one of the things I've wanted to do with animal communication, more than just work with individual clients and help solve individual animal person issues, whatever. I want everybody to get this idea, really get it, about animals being as psychologically and emotionally complex as humans are. And just so you know, I'm not coming at this from a, oh, people should be vegan, whatever standpoint, because I am actually not, which is some cognitive dissonance I have, but that's a whole other kind of conversation. But that's not what I mean. It's really important to me to help people see animals more completely and understand how complex they are in their minds and their emotions, and how to communicate with them. It's one of the best things I've ever done for myself, is learn animal communication, because it just opens up everything. It's so similar, like you and Brett were just saying, like even just seeing a UFO or a Bigfoot or like something, right, that you have to change your worldview. You have, right, for the first time, if you didn't already believe in that. And that same thing happens with animal communication, only there's that added piece that, like, people love their pets. Once they can talk to their pets like another human almost, and like have that back and forth, that is so incredibly life-changing. I want everybody to have that, both for people and for the animal's sake, to just be recognized on that higher level like that. And then just on a broader level, I just really want everybody to own that they're psychic. I don't let anybody get away with that stuff. Like you said, well, what if somebody's not really psychic, but they have psychic things happen to them, like kind of thing. I don't let anybody get away with that. Everybody is psychic.
Own it.
Yeah, own it. You're at a different level of your development in your psychic ability, but you are psychic. Everybody is. Everybody on this chat is psychic. Everybody who's not listening, who doesn't believe me, they're still psychic, even though they don't believe me.
They might be annoying, but
Yeah.
they're still psychic.
Everybody is. Everybody
Well, I
is.
know I'm annoying. That's true. I'm annoying. I've been told that several times.
Aw.
That's so weird. I get that too,
Maybe it's our haircuts.
It's what did you say, Professor X? Is
Yeah.
that
the bald thing? That's
Yeah.
right.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, Crystal, tell us about your book real quick too.
Okay. So we talked a little bit in the beginning how, like, I came to this largely while I was with Brett and all that. And so then there was actually a point where he's going to hold it up, so I don't have to hold it.
Is it backwards?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right
Oh,
there.
Okay, cool.
Interesting, because it looks backwards to us. Okay, that's fine. Okay, you can put it down now. Okay. Okay, so I have a background in therapy, and we went through a period where, even though he was already like kind of psychic, there was one summer, remember we said we worked in a school, we actually worked there together, we were on summer vacation, and he had like this insanely huge psychic emergence that came out, where he could start doing healing, he could start clearing houses. I mean, this like all came on all of a sudden, and that can be really disruptive. And it wasn't that we had to change our worldview because we already believed in all this, but the level of his just inundation with information and energy flow and all that actually was very disruptive to sleep, health, mental health, whatever. So what I did is, after we went through that, I wrote a book that's a combination of talking about psychic ability and using my therapy background for actually relationship related stuff too. So this book is really for somebody who's the partner of someone who had like this big awakening, and you don't know what the hell to do with it, right? Like, it's either scaring you or it's scaring them, or for some reason it's disrupting your life. And it's literally sort of like a step-by-step, like, this is what you do in the beginning phase, and this is what they're going through, and this is what you should do for yourself, and then here's how to build it. And then in the later chapters, it describes lots of the different types of psychic modalities and things you can use, everything from pendulums to crystals and all that kind of stuff. But the main part is just like it's a melding of relationship advice, specifically from when someone is having this particular issue that you love. Issue being that it's a really awesome thing, but it's hard at first. It can be really hard at first.
Crazy disruptive.
Yeah.
You're cruising along normal life. I was still psychic. I was still doing this stuff, but then I don't know, demons and angels show up and start like being involved in your life and stuff. And so, yeah, that is going to derail you no matter what is going on. Whether or not both of you believe it, in the relationship, or, if only one person believes it, then that relationship isn't probably going to do so well.
Yes.
But even if both of you believe it, it's really hard to keep moving forward and, be able to adjust your life and adjust how you're operating to be able to move forward. It's kind of, thinking about people that don't have a significant other or partner, them going through it, it's still going to disrupt, it's going to change your life. You're going to have totally different stuff going on. It's hard to operate when you can see things, when things are very, very real right there next to you, or moving through your room, or crawling on your walls, or whatever,
moving stuff around in the house, affecting the dogs. One time we had the ETs come in. They knocked all 3 of our dogs out. They were sedated. They were laying there like they were just dead until, they said, here's a disturbing thing. They said, that's just to let you know that we could kill them if we wanted to. And then the dogs, all 3 of them, woke up simultaneously. I mean, we were having like really intense experiences when all of this came on with him. And even if it's not that intense, something like all of a sudden he could do energy healing, like out of nowhere. Right. And it's like, how do you go back to your regular job?
Yeah.
Right.
Why are you giving me grief over these spreadsheets? Like, right. This is not important. It
disrupts everything in your world. So the book is about all that stuff. That's all.
Yeah. and for real, she did a good job with it.
Thanks.
How to Live with a Psychic, and the what is it? Your Guide for Maintaining a Happy Relationship When Someone You Love Gets Weird, by Crystal Hope. Yeah. Crystal Hope Reed.
That's a bigger subject to tackle.
Yeah. That's a whole other book.
It's a bigger book.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Guys, past our hour, which I don't mind.
Okay.
I really like to have you guys on because I'm taking notes as we're talking. Stuff I wanted to ask you guys, but we're running out of time. And,
okay. We'll do it again.
Man, I'd love to have you guys on, man, and we'll go through all this again.
Okay.
And everyone in the chat, I appreciate you guys. Great participation as always. Thanks for joining the show and coming along this little ride with me. And guys, if you will hold on, we'll end the show right here. Good night, everyone.